Well, here we are. WrestleMania 42 is tomorrow. Night one begins the huge weekend. Hall of Fame, SmackDown, and lots of other news coming out. People are doing interviews, wrestlers doing interviews. Roman Reigns dropped one of the best promos he's ever dropped in his career, if not the best promo he's ever dropped, in the back of an SUV, which I put a video out on Patreon and other places last night talking about that interview or that promo that he did, cutting CM Punk in half. Just one of the best he's ever done ever. And again, it's ironic that it's in the back of a car. So check that out if you haven't. But here we are. And we're going to dive into everything WrestleMania 42. We'll get to as many emails as we can. I don't know if we'll get to everybody, but we will try. We'll get to the voicemails. We will probably go on tangents as we do, but I'll try to stay focused on WrestleMania 42. That is tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow. We will see how it all shakes out. After all the criticism, after all the speculation, after all of the ups and downs and general kind of, I think, ambivalence about this particular WrestleMania, we're going to see if WWE can deliver tomorrow night and Sunday night. We're going to see if all of their plans that they have been cooking behind the scenes deliver this weekend. But before we do that, I want to welcome you to the WWE podcast. We are here, and we are going to be here throughout the entire weekend with videos. Those of you on Patreon get the video. Of course, those of you who are on the regular audio stream will not. So that's an incentive to head on over to Patreon. On top of the fact that there's a Discord server you get access to, there's ad-free everything over at patreon.com/WWE podcast. Highly recommend you check us out, as it's the biggest wrestling weekend of the year. So that said, wow, here we go. I'm going to give you my predictions first, and then we'll get to the emails. Otherwise, I have to sort of push it aside and not give you my thoughts, because then I won't be able to give you my predictions if I'm responding to your emails that have predictions, if that makes sense. So let's look at the WrestleMania 42 card, the official one that right from WWE's website. So this isn't from a third party. It's just right from the horse's mouth in case anything changes. You could have some last second changes tonight on SmackDown, but this is essentially just a maintenance show to give you the final push to WrestleMania 42. I don't expect any massive twists or turns. It's going to be very much, I think, like Monday Night Raw, where it's promo segments, very few matches. If the matches happen, they're going to be a lot of hanky-panky, interference, non-finishes, just a lot of, like, this is, I don't want to say it's a horse shit type of show tonight on SmackDown, but if you're looking for anything massive, well, that's not going to happen tonight, I don't think. I could be wrong. But this is a very much just kind of last push show. Now, let's dive into it. Saturday night, as I open up my drink here. It's not a beer, sadly, but let's pretend it is because it sounded like it. All right. Where do we start? Saturday night. Let's start with the 6-man tag team match. Logan Paul. And again, this is featured, these two matches that I'm about to talk about are featured on the first hour on ESPN2. So even if you don't subscribe to the ESPN Plus or unlimited portion of ESPN's app, you can still see these two for free. And their thinking and their hope is that you get drawn in, and they use these two matches as a paywall breaker for you to get into to purchase the app. That's all these two matches are for. This is the only reason they are giving these two matches out for free is so that you purchase the app. End of story. That's what this is. So maybe you do, maybe you don't. I will try to find a way. I still refuse to purchase $30 for ESPN's app. But okay, Logan Paul, Austin Theory, and I Show Speed take on the Usos and LA Knight. Well, I really hate to say it, but I don't see a scenario in which, well, no, I shouldn't say that. This is going to be the opening match. And if they're trying to get people to purchase the app by watching this, you want a feel-good type of ending to this. I could see a scenario in which the Usos and LA Knight win. Only for the fact that this is a match that's going to be opening the show. To get people hyped, you usually have a feel-good finish. That's likely what's going to happen here. In fact, I would argue that LA Knight opens the entire WrestleMania. Strike that. he's going to be the first actual wrestler to come out that's competing in a match, because I would not be surprised if Paul Levesque, who cannot help himself for every big PLE, nonsensically coming out with no purpose other than to, I think, self-satisfy himself, to come out and, welcome to WrestleMania, and he's going to ask us if we're ready again. I hope he doesn't, but I have a sneaking suspicion he will. And then don't forget, John Cena is the host of WrestleMania. He could then introduce John Cena as the greatest of all time hosting WrestleMania, and John Cena comes out and cuts a quick promo, and then that's it. I don't think he'll get involved with anybody. But you could also just have John Cena cold open the show. You don't need Paul Levesque. I would argue don't bring him out at all, but he's going to be a part of it somehow. So one of those two will come out to open the show. And then when the matches actually start, I think LA Knight will be the first one out. And this match, I expect a 15, 16-minute matchup here with some fun false finishes. I mean, it's essentially a SmackDown main event. That's what this is. No disrespect, but that's what this is. Hopefully LA Knight doesn't slip and fall anytime soon. We don't need another LA Knight debacle of him slipping on the top rope, in the middle rope, or in the middle of the ring, or slipping on a banana peel. I'm hopeful that LA Knight can stay upright for his own sake. I would not do anything above the middle rope if I was LA Knight. Try to do anything cute. It's just not worth it. There's somebody who's put some kind of hex or curse or incantation on him that he just cannot stay on his feet. So that said, I expect LA Knight and the Usos to win only because of the fact that this is an opening match, and they want fans to have that feel good feeling. And if they have that continue to roll into the next match, you're probably going to have people more likely to purchase the app. So if this was just a regular opening match with no kind of paywall beyond this, I would say that Logan Paul and Austin Theory and I Showed Speed should win. But I think the Usos and LA Knight will. The unsanctioned match is then the quote-unquote main event of the free show portion of WrestleMania. And Jacob Fatu, I think, wins this. Again, for the exact same reason that I told you about in the previous match. They want people to have a feel-good, positive feeling. They're excited. They want to see more baby faces win. And they're going to say, fuck it. Let me just purchase the app. I think that's what their thought is here. Now, who should win these matches? Again, Drew McIntyre should win. I would book him to win, and I would have him booked to win just very decisively. I would also have Logan Paul and Austin Theory's team win too. But, as I've said, the overarching theme and overriding theme is purchase, purchase, purchase. TKO, gimme that money. Gimme. Open up your wallets. So, I think Jacob Fatu wins only because of that. But that said, I think they're going to have a kick-ass match. Drew McIntyre went from the main event of WrestleMania to the opening match that's free at WrestleMania. It's unbelievable what they've done to Drew. I'm just befuddled by it. I don't know if it's Paul Levesque, Ari Emanuel. I'm not sure. Who knows? The Rock. Don't know. Whoever's responsible for this is just a bad person. But I think it's going to be a really good, violent match. And it's their job to sell WrestleMania, and I think they will. I expect, even despite my feelings about Jacob Fatu, I do think he's a little bit overrated. I don't think he's great on the mic. I don't agree with his outside opinions about the wrestling community, and we should essentially just shut up and enjoy the product. I think that's just total bullshit. I've gone over why I think that. And bottom line, Jacob Fatu wins. Okay, now we get to the paid portion of WrestleMania. If you've dished out your cash, you can then see, just lovingly, the women's championship match, tag team championship match, the Fatal 4-Way. That it's going to have Nia Jax and Lash Legend taking on Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, Bayley and Lyra, and then the Bella Twins. This match, to me, it's not an elimination, so it's a one fall to a finish match. So that means, I think, the only way to end this is Lash Legend and Nia Jax winning. Nobody else makes sense. No one else makes sense at all. Because look, you already had your two baby faces win the first two matches. You got a feel-good feeling. Then you have the Bella Twins. Again, my feelings on them and why they have no business winning, much less even being back in the WWE, where they pretended that there's some kind of organic just wave of people that are demanding the Bellas be a part of WWE again, which is just not true. They're the only ones who are advocating for them coming back. They don't need it. They would be a disaster. They're unbearable. Bayley and Lyra, they're cold. They have some nice chemistry. You could make a small case for them, but I don't think it would do much for them. They're very much ranked towards the bottom of their division here when it comes to the tag team for the women. And Charlotte and Alexa, been there, done that. They're not going to really gain anything from winning the tag team championships. And people, I think, are ready for those two to break back out into singles roles. So, Lash Legend and Nia Jax, the obvious favorite, and they should be. They should. This is not a complicated decision here. So, excuse me, AJ Lee, Becky Lynch for the Intercontinental Championship. This is difficult. Becky Lynch has admittedly, on her last run, she said this is her final contract. That's according to her. AJ Lee, her first singles match back at WrestleMania in 10 years, whatever. AJ Lee, I think, wins this to retain, which will send Becky over the edge and to hopefully somebody else. So I think AJ Lee wins in a match that I don't have a lot of expectation for. They had an overachieving match their last time out. So I expect probably the same here in a match that's not going to be a show stealer, but a solid match with AJ Lee winning. Okay, Seth Rollins and Gunther. This one to me is difficult because Gunther's coming off of a hell of a streak. His comeback after being totally absent for a month in WrestleMania season. We weren't sure what he was doing. Chris Jericho did not decide to sign with WWE, and we all thought that was going to be his WrestleMania opponent. It's Seth Rollins, who we all thought was going to work with Braun Breaker. So, what happens? I think Gunther wins. The reason is Braun Breaker could help him. Braun Breaker, I think, will make an appearance here and spear Rollins, or at least show his face to distract him enough to get Gunther the victory. In a match that, it's going to be really good. Is it a show stealer? Probably not, but it has the potential. Look at the talent that's in the ring here. The story is not great. It was thrown together because of injury, and that's no fault of WWE's. But the match is going to be good. It just can't not be with these two guys. So Seth Rollins is probably going to lose. And he should, because Gunther, if you're going to have somebody beat John Cena in his final match, you got to have him keep going with some momentum. WrestleMania has not been kind to Gunther. Just look at last year with him losing to and tapping out the fucking Jey Uso. So Seth Rollins probably loses, and he should, and he'll be fine. Even if Braun Breaker doesn't appear, Gunther should still win. Stephanie Vaquer and Liv Morgan. This match has really over-delivered in its build. It's been one of the best builds out of the entire company. I think this is going to be a really good match. At least I hope it is. I think that this match probably goes 13, 14 minutes with really either woman winning. You could make a case for either woman. I don't have a real strong feeling about either one, but I got to pick here. Probably, I'm going to say Liv Morgan wins, regains the championship. Because they've done some stuff with Stephanie. She's been, I think, she's exceeded my expectations. But Liv Morgan winning kind of shakes things up a bit. And Liv is a great talker. So I think Liv Morgan wins, but you can't go wrong here. I don't think fans are going to get angry either way. Both women make sense. This is a toss-em, a pick-em. And I think Liv Morgan wins. Okay, Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton with fucking Pat McAfee. Good God, if I have to see this anymore. Okay, this is, to me, beyond the fact that Pat McAfee, I've gone over it, I'll say it one more time, has no business. I don't want to hear from JBL about this is real heel heat. There's not go away heat. Hey, John, again, go away heat. It does exist. People don't want to watch it. The heat's on the company. It's not in the character. People aren't going to pay to see Pat McAfee get his ass kicked. They just don't want to see him at all, which means they're not watching. He doesn't draw any more tickets. See, it would be, you would have that argument be verified if people were angry at Pat himself and weren't angry at the company and Ari Emanuel. That's the difference. The heat's not on Pat. It's quiet when he's out there. People aren't booing he's able to talk. He's not getting Dominic Mysterio heat. People aren't out there saying, oh my God, will somebody just come out and give him a stunner? No. People just don't want the storyline. That's the heat, John. And I'm focusing this on JBL because he's trying to defend this as Pat McAfee being some great achievement in this story. Not even talking about the fact that you have no mention of the history of Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. I know Randy put out a little bit of an X video and he did an interview with Wade Barrett, but on WWE's actual build on television, there's been almost no mention of their history, which is the whole reason people wanted them to come together in the first place. And then you inject Pat McAfee and Jelly Roll, and we all know, likely at Backlash, Jelly Roll and Randy Orton and Pat McAfee and Cody Rhodes going to be in a tag team match, which is going to be horrible. And yes, Jelly Roll will come out here and probably help out Cody. Are they ever going to fucking learn that main events don't need celebrity involvement? Do you need to look any further back in time other than WrestleMania 41's main event? Do we really need to relive this? Did they learn nothing? Did they learn absolutely nothing from that complete disaster of a main event, that embarrassment that even likely has a spillover into one of the reasons why people aren't buying this year's WrestleMania tickets? I'm not saying it's the only, I'm saying it's a factor. With the bad taste that would put in people's mouths from that main event. Could The Rock interfere here? Yeah, I don't think he will. I don't think The Rock has any business in this. And even if The Rock is the payoff, that to me has not been worth it. And that's how bad this is. There's really no payoff here that I could say, you know what? Wow, that was so worth it. I get it now. There's nothing they could concoct. Nothing. Absolutely, I can't, even in fantasy world, I can't think of a single payoff where I'd be like, oh man, we were all harsh on that, but it makes sense now. No. This is a bastardization of what could have been a great WrestleMania match that is now overshadowed by celebrity involvement for two guys, including Jelly Roll, who gets kind of the collateral damage of this. No business being in this shit whatsoever. It is now, people are talking about Pat McAfee. We're talking about Pat McAfee. I'm part of this. The focus should be on Randy Orton, a legend in his own time right now. And Cody Rhodes, a perennial main eventer. They're not even talking about the championship. They're not talking about Cody. They're not talking about Randy. Instead, we're all focusing on Pat fucking McAfee. And you could say, well, you're part of the problem. Well, they introduced this problem. He has been the focal point of this program the last several weeks. This is on you. This is not me saying, oh man, I can't wait to see somebody beat up Pat. No. This is a disrespectful storyline. It's ill-advised. And it's embarrassing for the company. And that's just unbelievable to say, given the great heel turn by Randy. His 2009 version of himself has come back, and we're talking about Pat fucking McAfee. It's unbelievable. But who wins? After all that, who wins? Well, reports are that Randy Orton is hurting, quote unquote, heading into WrestleMania. I don't know if they're true, but if they are, WWE may be a little bit hesitant to put the strap on him. I will say Randy winning is more interesting than Cody, so I'm going to say Randy Orton wins. Depending on the severity of Randy Orton's hidden injury, if he has one, may change things where Cody retains. But if the injury doesn't exist, or the reports are false, or if the injury is something he could work through, Randy Orton should win. He should win because it's a much more interesting story. Excuse me. If Pat McAfee is the reason that Randy Orton wins, fine. whatever. I mean, like we all know Pat's there to get involved in some way. And I don't want to see Cody Rhodes do what he did last year, by the way, with quote unquote this receipt for Pat McAfee that also CM Punk promised. I don't know if Punk will be here to give Pat his receipt, but I doubt it. But if Pat's receipt after all this is just a soft crossroads, which he did to Travis Scott last year after Travis Scott actually punched him in the face for real, that is as weak and effeminate of a receipt, quote unquote, that you could give someone. Pat McAfee, if you want to do it right, should actually be punched in the face. I don't think they'll do it. So Pat is going to get involved, tripping and distracting. And what's Cody doing for all that after getting kicked in the balls and assaulted multiple times? And he's trying to interfere with the match itself. What is Cody going to do? Well, gosh darn, I'm going to give you one of the most devastating finishers of all time. Don't make me do it. What would happen in a different time is a true chair shot to the skull and busting open Pat McAfee. But okay, moving on. Night 2. We're only on night 1. Let's go to night 2, and I will get through some emails. Okay, Sunday. Let's go. The first 2 matches. Again, they have a first free hour on ESPN. Then they have 2 matches. The first one is Penta, John Evans, Dragon Lee, JD McDonough, Rusev, and Rey Mysterio in a Intercontinental Championship ladder match. This, with Penta being champion, you could see really anybody winning here. I hope it's Rusev. In fact, that's my pick. Penta has been okay. I know there's a lot of people who love Penta, and he's fine. But everyone that will ever supersede Rey Mysterio as a luchador wrestler will live in the shadow of Rey Mysterio forever. Forever. Everyone forever and always will be compared to Rey Mysterio. Anyone that wears a mask will forever be compared to Rey, and will be looked at as, they're not as good as Rey. They're not quite Rey. Sorry, it's just the way it's going to go. And Penta's living in Rey Mysterio's shadow, albeit he's very good. I think Penta loses here in what, yes, could be a show-stealing match. We always say that about this perennial, seemingly, Intercontinental Championship ladder match. And all 6 of these guys could just kill it, and I think they will. The level of talent, especially the spots that Javon Evans is going to do. Can you imagine some of the leaps and risks that Javon Evans is going to take in this match? It's going to be scary. And I say that with all due respect. Not that he's going to be unsafe, but I think his athletic ability is going to encourage him to do things that are ill-advised, but also awesome. Dragon Lee, you know what you're going to get out of him. JD McDonough, he can take bumps and he'll just be bumping his ass off the whole match. Rusev, I think, will win. That's the interesting scenario here. And you look at what they set him up for in the last week here of being dominant, and I think that's maybe a clue. Obafemi and Brock Lesnar, yes, is featured in the free portion of the ESPN 1 hour, essentially, hey, buy our stuff. Let me get your money. Brock Lesnar, Obafemi. Everyone is expecting Obafemi to win. No one's expecting Brock Lesnar to win. Brock Lesnar is a massive underdog with good reason. I think, yes, Obafemi wins. I'm going to go on there. I'm not going to try to be cute and say Brock wins, but you can make easily a case for Brock to win. The case is not complicated. Brock wins. A shock to everybody that Brock wins, dominates Obafemi, but Obafemi comes back with a monster run. You could easily do that, and I think Obafemi would be fine. Obafemi's getting the star rub no matter whether he wins or loses. Now, yes, it is more important for Obafemi to win than Brock Lesnar to win if you're looking at the future, because Brock Lesnar is on his way out. But Obafemi can easily recover from this if he lost to Brock. It's just you got to follow up properly. But I think this is going to be a competitive match. I don't want one of these like shock squash matches. You don't do that at WrestleMania when people are ready to sit in for a back and forth battle between these two giants. I just hope we don't get a bunch of finish kickouts. That's probably wishful thinking. This is going to be fun. The feats of strength, Brock Lesnar hitting an F5 that Obafemi's going to kick out of at least once, probably twice. Brock Lesnar is probably going to lose this. and Obafemi gets the victory. And that's it. I mean, it's probably that straightforward in a match that I think is probably 12 minutes. Sami Zayn, Trick Williams for the United States Championship. This is tough. I think Sami Zayn wins, but it's by cheating. And he's going to try to justify why he had to do what he did to the crowd, the next SmackDown. I think Sami Zayn wins, but again, it's going to be some kind of nefarious or questionable means in which he did it. And Trick Williams is going to have a great showing. This match is going to be really good. You know the talent of both men. Sami Zayn wins this, but it's by a questionable finish that would push Sami down that heel path a little bit further. Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio. The Demon Finn Balor. Well, Finn wins. End of story. I wish the IC title was involved in this, but it's not. However, we're still getting Finn and Dom. That's been brewing for like 4 years. So that's good. The match is going to be fine. I wouldn't say great. It's going to be fine. And Finn Balor wins. That's it. I mean, there's no other way to book this. I know much more to say about it other than if we finally got the match, Finn Balor as the Demon just can't lose. Or he should very rarely lose. Unless you're facing the Fiend. Remember that? Where like the turnbuckle fell or whatever. Jade Cargill and Rhea Ripley for the Women's Championship. I would say Rhea Ripley probably wins this. But if you want to get Jade over more as a heel, you have her cheat to win. And you have her cronies, B-Fab, come out, right? Or Michin come out. Or they're at ringside already. And they do some damage to Rhea. Yes, Io Sky could even the odds, but it's still 3-on-2. Ultimately, Rhea probably wins this. But again, I don't feel confident about this at all. Because if you want to continue to push Jade, and they have confidence she can grow as a heel, then she cheats to win here. Or she just outright beats Rhea. And apparently, by the way, Rhea's going through some kind of eating disorder. That's been the latest reports, and I would believe that. That makes much more sense to me than, hey, I had too much muscle on my body. No, you didn't. I mean, it's an eating disorder. And, hey, I wish the best for her. And if that's the case too, and the company is aware, and they should be, if I'm aware, they should be aware at this point, of her eating disorder, you don't want to make her champion because, I mean, I think that's irresponsible to do. You got to get her help. If those reports are true, and I think they are. So Jade, I think, should win, but if they're confident that Rhea Ripley is going to be fine mentally and moving forward physically, then you put the belt on Rhea. So who's my pick? Rhea wins, but it's a split down the middle. CM Punk and Roman Reigns as the main event of WrestleMania. I think, boy, oh boy, you're probably going to have some interference in this match. The Rock I'd give him a 50-50 because The Rock has been mentioned by name. You could even have Vince McMahon involved in this as well. He's been mentioned by name. You could have Vince involved also in the Cody Rhodes and on Randy Orton program as well. Vince could be involved in that. So I would not put aside Vince being involved in some way or form or fashion. And again, same with The Rock involved in this match physically. 50-50. Who wins? Boy, I'm going to say Roman Reigns wins and wins the World Championship from CM Punk. Now the question is, how does the crowd respond to that? Well, I think it's going to depend on how Roman wins. There's been hints of Roman turning heel over the last several weeks. The crowd reaction has been mostly with Punk, but that's because Punk can talk much better than Roman. It's no dispute there. Punk is much more talented on the mic than Roman, but he's been good, and his last promo in the back of an SUV was the best of his career. So CM Punk loses here because of probably The Rock or somebody else we're not thinking of. Comes out with all the trash that CM Punk's talked about Roman's family. You would think somebody from Roman's family is going to come out here. That to me seems likely. And outside of that, the match is going to be excellent. 20 minutes, 22 minutes with Roman Reigns capturing the world championship for the first time. So That's how I think it's going to go. Could we see other appearances here? Yes, Danhausen. Danhausen's going to have a segment. He should have a segment. Who or what that's going to be remains to be seen. It could be with John Cena. He's going to curse somebody. You know that. So Danhausen will have some involvement. Again, these outside guys and gals like The Rock or Vince McMahon or even Stone Cold Steve Austin is very possible. Austin's not too far from Vegas where he's at. So it's possible that Austin appears. I wouldn't say likely, but possible. It's always possible at WrestleMania for some stunner or some fun segment. So that's how I think it's going to go. Let me see. Let me know what you guys think, by the way, after this. You can always email me. I'll always answer the emails in some form or fashion in our shows. So let's get to the emails quickly as we can. So let's talk to DJ. It's been a hot minute. Well, actually, he doesn't have WrestleMania predictions. He has the Joe Hendry report. So DJ, I will be playing that at the end of the show. Let's go to, let's see here. Let's go to the next person, which is Curtis. Curtis says, hey, Matt, just wanted to talk about someone everyone seems to have forgotten about. He's my personal favorite of all time. Mind you, I've been watching since 2007. That man is Sheamus. As I said, he's my favorite of all time, and I'm curious to hear your opinion about how you would book him upon his return and how you would want him to sail off into the sunset. What I would do is bring him back as a heel. I'm tired of this banger after banger stuff. I would just like to see him as badass mid-card heel. Put him in a feud with Knight for a while to kick off his return, if Knight doesn't turn. When it's time, he's serious about retirement. I think maybe give him a few months with the IC title and get Gunther to take the title off him. That's not a bad plan. I would say his final match, when Sheamus is ready, it should be against Gunther. Remember those matches they had? They were just absolutely, I mean, they put on a clinic. So Gunther should face Sheamus whenever Sheamus decides to go. Sheamus has always kind of lived in that Intercontinental title tier. That's been his home for quite a while. So I would agree. He should live there. Rusev, of course, the history with those two. You have Penta in there, Rey Mysterio. Kind of the greatest hits with Sheamus is how I would book him. And yes, as a heel. He's much better suited as a heel. Thanks, Curtis. All right. Let's go to Shane. Shane says, Drew McIntyre, I agree with you, is great. I wanted to mention, though, don't you think there is a good chance that McIntyre knew he was going to drop the title? Let's be honest. If I'm a WWE star and Triple H and management come out and say, hey, guys, we need to do a transitional champion to win the title off of Cody for a few months, you'll hold it to just before Mania for some shock value. Raise your hand if you're interested. I mean, who wouldn't? It's believable, but it adds a title to Drew's name. Like it or not, Cody's the face of the company, but being the 1B isn't a bad place to be. I don't know. I just think it's still good for Drew. A good thing for Drew. He's a 4-time world champion. He can't be inserted back into the title picture. He can be at any time on either brand. It's a bit rough he lost just weeks out, but who is to say he didn't know it? When you had Stone Cold at the helm, you also had The Rock, Triple H, Taker, and Angle. I'll stop there because I know you got more here. Yeah, but those are also legends. I mean, you're talking about the greatest of the greatest. That was an all-star roster. That anyone could have been champion at any time, and it was totally believable. I also don't remember a time when they changed titles this close to WrestleMania, which tells you that there was some injection of other voices in WWE rather than a cohesive plan towards WrestleMania. There seems to be that was a detour, I think, from those above Triple H. I really believe it came from Ari Emanuel, who wanted to put the title back on Cody, and they did it in the best way they could. But even if Drew knew it, I mean, that's beside the point. I mean, they may or may not know it. Sometimes they don't know the creative till they get to the building. That doesn't mean Drew has to agree or not agree. Most of the time, most people don't say no. They're just going to say yes, like you said. But him knowing or not knowing is beside the point. It's just the fact that they did it. The fact that they did this again to Drew, it's like a bad joke. Drew can't have his WrestleMania moment as champion. It just is impossible. And it sucks because Drew got screwed by COVID. He beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 36 in front of no one when he was a babyface, by the way. And he was on fire after eliminating Brock Lesnar from the Rumble in 2020. He won the title for 5 minutes against CM Punk. or not against CM Punk, but CM Punk cost him the championship after he won it, but then it was cashed in on by Damian Priest. So he can't have that moment. It's just not in the cards for him. All right. When you had Cena at the helm, you also had Orton, Batista, Punk, and Edge. My point is, Drew can still have a respectable career, all things considered. I'm a fan of Cody as well, so I'd probably be pissed too. Drew fits the mold of an old school guy who can work and actually looks like a champion and a star. Orton, Reigns, Rollins, and Rhodes all look like stars to me. Even Rhodes and Rollins ain't the biggest guys, but they're lean, in shape, and look respectable. I just can't take someone like Kevin Owens seriously. The only thing he could beat is a Big Mac meal from McDonald's. I'm supposed to believe he can physically match up with a 290-pound jacked Orton, whose legs look like tree trunks. Really? Maybe I'm old school, but I like these men actually looking like men. It's different when it's someone on the undercard or for comedy like Danhausen, but the top guys need to look like a top guy. Yeah, there's an argument there. I know you're more of an old school look. You want that man who looks like a true caveman, jacked, carved out of stone, just, Michelangelo, to look like them. And for someone who's undersized or doesn't have as much muscle mass to say they can beat somebody who's jacked, you have a problem with. Well, even in the MMA, that's just not true, though. I mean, when you look at somebody, let's see here. So like Brock Lesnar, when Brock Lesnar was in the UFC, if you remember, some of the guys that he lost to were nowhere near the physical specimens that Brock Lesnar is in. I can't think of the names. I lost it in my mind, but there were some losses that Brock Lesnar took that you look at the guy and you're like, how the fuck did he lose to him? So let me Google that, because what is his name? He got arrested too, and they brought him into WWE. Hold on. Brock Lesnar losses in UFC. Frank Mir. Cain Velasquez. How can I not remember that name? Jeez. Cain Velasquez, when you look at his physical appearance, you look at him, you're like, he's kind of like that flabby, but somehow is a badass look. I know what you're saying from a visual standpoint, but if you take reality, where people are actually trying to hurt each other in UFC, it doesn't always match up. Frank Mir also is nowhere near the physical specimen that Brock Lesnar is, and Frank Mir beat Brock Lesnar. So that is not always true, but I understand your principle here. I understand. I totally get it. And I agree with you to some degree, but it's also pro wrestling. It's pro wrestling. Kevin Owens, he brought Stone Cold Steve Austin out of retirement, And if your premise was true, also Rey Mysterio would have never beaten and won the championship. What was it? 2006. I think he won the Royal Rumble. Yeah. You can go back chapter and verse. Even Shawn Michaels is undersized. Eddie Guerrero is undersized. They were like 5'10". Chris Benoit undersized, and that they all became champions. And no one had any problem with it, because sometimes the guy that doesn't look like they should win is the guy that people get behind. Look at Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan, my God, when you look at Batista and Randy Orton in the main event of WrestleMania 30, Daniel Bryan had no business winning if you want to go by just pure look. That's why personality, persona, and connecting with the audience is infinitely more important than what you look like. Infinitely more important. The microphone is what will sell people to purchase tickets into the arena. That's it. And buy that app. Promos will forever and always be more important than what you look like. Now, not to say what you look like is not important, but it's secondary, because people don't give a shit what you look like if they don't care about you as a person or as a personality. All right, let's continue. Let's see. You got some more stuff here. I'm on the fence with Punk, as he does genuinely seem like he came back down to earth compared to what he before he left, and I recognize the name value. Physique-wise, he does pass. I guess I can understand why people cheer him, but he just isn't for me. The most I liked him was on ECW, but you can see maturity, and he seems humbled. So I do like Punk a lot more. What gets me is his aura. He lost he lost to nobodies in the UFC. A lot of people don't realize those fights were basically handed to him to win. The fact that they had him beat up Roman is laughable. Roman played football, a hard sport. He's also a massive Samoan dude. It's a stereotype, but yes, Samoans can fight. Reigns would flog him, and that stigma's gone. Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, again, you're in the world of pro wrestling. It's pro wrestling. It's personality. It's persona. It's marketing. It's connection. There's so much more than just the physical look. I mean, that's just all there is to it. I even give Punk credit for trying to fight. That is, people sit back and they'll watch a UFC fight or, some other promotion, some kind of MMA fight. And they'll, they're like, they're easily critiqued. And some people have that innate stupidity, not you, Shane, but I'm saying generally, where they'll sit there and go, they feel that they could kick somebody's ass and they're not doing it right. I could go in there, and until you get in there and you get your ass kicked, the toughness mentally and physically you have to step into the octagon is just imperceivable for most people, because it's very easy to sit on your couch or sit there with a beer in your hand and critique. And what do they say? Armchair quarterback. Very easy to do until you actually do it and you realize how much it takes to do this. So I give Punk all the credit in the world, because that is serious commitment and risk. Yeah, it didn't work out, but hey, he tried it. Just like Brock Lesnar. He got cut from the Vikings. Almost made it. But he was the last guy cut on the Vikings before the season started. Not easy. Pat McAfee and Jelly Roll being the center of attention of Orton and Rhodes. Storyline hurts my soul. So much potential wasted. It could have also really helped Rhodes. Imagine a world where Orton attacks Brandy, handcuffs Cody. Cody goes to his house in St. Louis. Imagine they make it an I Quit match. Have Cody dye his hair black, lose the suit, have a hardcore match or something with blood. Orton literally attack Dusty, have him brag about it, have him go to his grave or something and vandalize it. Imagine what that could have been. Yeah, I totally agree. Mystery caller, I think, would have been cool to have Ted DiBiase Jr. Is a month time enough to drop a little weight and get in shape? He will need money after all the court stuff. Yeah, he will. Sorry for the long message. Also, I think I'll sign up to Patreon. I realize I got a $50 gift card. I'll use that to sign up. Oh, that's totally your call. Saves me the trouble of getting in the misses. Where do I sign up? Well, go to patreon.com/WWE podcast. Thanks for I promise that wasn't an ad insert. It was just by luck. Patreon.com/WWE podcast. There you go. I mean, there's so much they could have done. They could have done like anything else other than what they did here. They didn't even have to do much at all. They could have just not planned anything. Like here's how badly they fucked this up. They could have not had any creative at all and just told Randy and Cody, hey, go out there and say whatever you want for the next 5 weeks. And it would have been light years better than what we got. Because they are professionals. They have an incredibly deep history. They would have been smart enough to pull on that history. And all they had to do was cut promos. Yeah, they could have some brawls and certainly pull some goddamn footage. Pull some historical footage. There's a boatload of it. They could have done a ton of stuff. Sit-down interviews. I always talk about those sit-down interviews are very effective. They could have done absolutely nothing and put in almost no effort, and it would have been just awesome. The build would have been awesome for the next 5 weeks because these two men are more than capable of handling it on their own. And instead, we get this gobbledygook bullshit of Pat McAfee. And we're supposed to focus on him because he's connected to ESPN, and ESPN and WWE have a relationship. So now we're supposed to, shut the fuck up. This is not about wrestling anymore. I think that's at the core of this whole problem. It's not about the matches anymore. It's not about the storylines anymore. It's about the crossover audience that TKO executives are trying to achieve by bringing in people that have no business being in any storylines. And they think that the pain is worth the squeeze. The juice is worth the squeeze. They can just bring in these kind of crossover audience and they're going to get a bunch more people to buy the ESPN app or subscribe to the ESPN Unlimited app. That's their thinking. And the focus isn't on wrestling anymore. That's the message here. That's the underlying message I think we're all missing is it's not about the matches anymore. It's the pomp and circumstance and crossover and celebrity involvement. That's what we're dealing with. That's the pushback that fans are giving the company, that the company's like, I don't understand this. They don't know what they want. Okay. All right. One more email. This is from Hector. It says, happy WrestleMania days. Just had to drop by and get your opinion on the current situation. Right now, Undertaker's booking AAA, and the main event is not even Dominic Mysterio, who's the champion, but OG Grande Americano versus El Grande Americano. Ludwig is the babyface. This guy has been adopted by Mexico. He became an idol over here, and we love him. Chad is the villain, trying to take everything Ludwig built over here. At the moment, I've seen it a lot on American Wrestling, social media, X, and other platforms, that this story is just the best thing booked so far. Undertaker is getting his roses and his great booking of AAA in general, while Triple H is getting trashed on. I would like your thoughts. Well, the thoughts are AAA, much smaller promotion, much smaller audience, less tampered with by executives. That's the end of it. I mean, you have Undertaker, who's just being able to just do what he wants without any interference. Too many cooks in the kitchen with WWE and TKO executives. TKO is just like, hey, here, Undertaker, do whatever you want with this little thing we purchased. You know, we're hands off. That's what it is. TKO doesn't really give a shit about that because they're just like, you just don't fuck it up, Mark. Hey, Mark Calloway here. And with WWE, yeah, that's their baby. One of them. Right? So they're really much more hands-on. That's what it is. And Triple H is taking shit, but fans are starting to smarten up to it or wake up to it, that it's not just Triple H. Triple H is getting the brunt and started to get the brunt of the backlash from fans until it was brought to their attention that, wait a minute, this may not have been Triple H involved. There's many more cooks in the kitchen than just Triple H. Yes, he's the head of creative, but fans are realizing, hey, Ari Emanuel is starting to really dip his fingers into the cookie jar here. He's got his fingerprints all over this. This is not a Triple H story. So while the heat is still on Triple H, a lot of it is starting to transfer to TKO itself. The executives. That's where a lot of the heat's going, and rightfully so, because there is just no way Triple H, who knows these two men and has a history, an in-ring history with both men, would have said, you know what this story needs? Man, there's not much we can do here. We got to bring in some crossover, celebrity. Let's bring them both in. Let's bring in Jelly Roll. Let's bring in Pat McAfee. There's no way Triple H did that. Now, is Triple H responsible for some other stuff? Yeah. And I do wonder the reaction he would get if he came out on WrestleMania. I wonder if people would boo him. All right. Thanks, Hector. All right. That'll do it for the emails here. And I've got some other stuff, but a lot of it says not for mailbag, so I will respect that. There's some other stuff. Yeah. So, no. I do have one. I apologize. This is, Shiv. All right. I figured my predictions would be similar to most people's. This is one more. I decided to rank the builds on how well I thought they were done. The vision and speed in the Usos and LA Knight, 7 out of 10. I'm excited, and I think this build has been good. Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu, 8 out of 10. I think this has been one of the better builds, especially considering that Drew should be in a better program. Agreed. The Fatal 4-Way Women's Tag, 4 out of 10. Nothing interesting has happened leading up to the match. AJ Lee and Becky Lynch, 6 out of 10. This feud's been okay, but I feel the IC title weighs it down as AJ's a part-timer and Becky should move back up to the main event after Mania. Seth and Gunther, 3 out of 10. This is harsh, but they haven't had the opportunity to do anything because they were waiting for Breakker. I do think Paul's favor to Gunther will be to have a retirement match with Brock at SummerSlam. That's a good call. I like that. Liv Morgan and Stephanie Vaquer, 8 out of 10, especially considering their limited time on Raw. Cody and Randy, 7 out of 10. It's been entertaining, but not what anyone wanted. You're generous. That's very generous, a 7 out of 10. Brock Lesnar and Oba Femi, 10 out of 10. No complaints. Oba's promo on Raw was amazing. Yeah, that promo, I wouldn't say it was amazing, but it was needed and it was well executed. Yes, I wouldn't give the promo, or rather the build, a 10 out of 10, but you know what? For simplicity and just understanding what's going on and not having to do too much or overthink, yeah, I would concur with that. IC ladder match, 2 out of 10. There's been no build, but I'm anticipating a fun car wreck of a match. Jade Cargill versus Rhea, 4 out of 10. The promos have been awful in my opinion, but I was surprised by the match with Rhea and Michin, and I thought it was decent. Sami Zayn and Trick Williams, 5 out of 10. This is a bit biased, but I really wanted Carmelo versus Dragunov involved. Yeah, that would have been fun. Finn versus Dom, 3 out of 10. Very underwhelming considering we've been waiting for this and what feels like 2 years. Well, it's been more than that. And also you have to kind of self-build yourself on that, self-ignite your excitement for that, because you have to remember how long we've been waiting for it. So I'll give that a couple more points only because they're finally doing it. And you can kind of think back as to all the tension, even though they haven't done a good job of reminding you of it. Punk and Roman, 8 out of 10. Could have been 10 out of 10, but it peaked early. I would agree. Like their peak actually happened real early on. Like one of their first promos together, it peaked there. But it's impossible. The sustainability of a build is just ebb and flow. You can't have it peak and then remain at the peak. It's impossible. But they've done a nice job. Overall, the builds haven't been great on the whole, but I do think the card on paper looks good, and we should get some good matchups down the road. That absolutely is true. And you know what? As I've said many times, WWE may be blessed with the fact that you don't have a great build for a lot of programs. It offers the opportunity for easily coming out of the PLE going, you know what, that's better than I thought. So by setting the bar low, it kind of skews your review coming out like, wow, that was better than I thought, versus having an awesome build for all the matches. And then you come out and you have these crazy wild expectations that are unrealistic. And then, you know, you're coming out going, yeah, that wasn't as great as I thought. You see how your mind plays tricks? Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Brogan. I forgot about you, my friend. And I gotta get to you. Let's go to Brogan. This is truly the final email. I do pinky swear. Before predictions, did you know that Zoe Stark, Omos, and Apollo Creed are all still on the main roster? No, I didn't. I really didn't. I knew that Zoe Stark was. I forgot about Omos and Apollo Creed. Forgot about that. Maybe they'll make some surprise appearance. Night 1. Speed and the Usos. Let's see. Well, you said Vision and Speed win. You think Fatu wins, but it's 50-50. Yeah, I would concur with that. Morgan takes the title from Stephanie. Gunther wins with the help of Braun. Ooh, we're on the same page. The Irresistible Forces win the match. Yeah, then they should. AJ wins and hopefully moves on. Cody Randy, you have Who Cares? Wow. If we're saying about a WrestleMania main event with two guys that are a main event, like established massive stars, that tells you all you need to know about what WWE's done to this. They fucked up. But according to JBL, nah, it's real heel heat. Shut up, dude. No, it's not. I can't believe he doesn't discern the difference. He can't discern the difference between go away heat and heel heat. Okay. Oba versus Brock, 50-50, but Oba should win and go on a generational run. Even if he doesn't, he still can. But okay, the IC title match, it's hard, but I know Dragon Lee and JD won't win, so it's between Ray, Penta, Javon, and maybe Rusev. Yeah, Rusev, again, I think Rusev will win. Javon Evans is a close second for me because he's incredibly athletic and people connect to that. So let's see. The Demon will win in a dominant, fair fashion, but won't squash Dom, and I don't think he should. And by the way, can we get a Dom babyface run officially, please? Sammy versus Trick. You have Sammy winning and the people booing him, or Trick wins and Sammy turns heel. That's a good point. I think Sammy's going to get booed. It's just people are on that train now. People are ready to move on. So I think Sammy will get booed. Whether he cheats to win or wins, he's getting booed. It's a fun evolution of why the people are turning. You could do like a case study as to why people, like into the human psyche as to why Sami Zayn's being booed, even though he really didn't do anything. It's fascinating. Jade and Rhea, you hope Rhea wins, but Jade belongs in a low uppercard spot, not all the way up at the top, so you're thinking Rhea wins. And finally, Roman wins and reforms the bloodline, turning heel. Ooh, okay, yeah, reforming the bloodline. So the Usos you think are back, and maybe The Rock? No mention of The Rock, but I think this WrestleMania is going to be good, and it might surprise me and be great. I hope it does. I hope it surprises all of us. I really do. I know we're all shitting on like Pat McAfee, and with total justification, we are shitting all over the storyline. And you know what? We're giving Pat the heat, but again, the heat is on the company. It's on Ari Emanuel. That's who it should be directed at. It's at the company. You know, that's what we're booing. When you hear boos, it's not because, again, when you go to the arena and people are shitting on a particular person, you got to think about why they're booing that person. Is this booing the storyline, like this is just terrible? Or are they actually booing the person to see them get their ass kicked? That's the heat you want. And that's not what Pat has. And that's not where the focus should be at all. Where Pat McAfee had his studio destroyed. I'm sure you saw that on X. Who gives a shit? Who cares? But they're doing it because Pat has a big audience and they're thinking, oh, well, God damn it, I'm going to tune into ESPN. Here's $30 to see what Pat McAfee does at WrestleMania. It's stupid. Okay, I'll end it there. And I'm going to turn it over to DJ to close out the show with his abbreviated version of the Joe Hendry Report. I'll be all over Patreon this weekend with video updates and thoughts. So head on over to patreon.com/WWE podcast for those updates. And you can get everything ad-free, exclusive content where you can't get them on the regular free feed on Apple or Spotify. All right, everybody, get hyped, get ready. Hopefully WrestleMania delivers. You'll hear from me very soon for night 1 and night 2 of WrestleMania. Enjoy.
This is DJ Kuzmo back at it again on your Mailbag Show. Record you live on a Wednesday morning, and you know what time it is. It's time to
say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry.
That's right, folks. Joe Hendry is his name as I take you to my 88th episode of The Jones Report. And like always, coming to you live from an undisclosed location. But we're going to do things a little bit differently as today I want to focus mostly on Joe Hendry. This is my 3-week hiatus. I make my return today. After a 3-week hiatus, my phone wasn't working, I wasn't feeling well, there was a lot of things that was going about, and there were some changes that were happening to Joe Hendry, and I want to get to the first change, and that is he is no longer the NXT champion as of NXT Stand and Deliver, which took place on Saturday, April 4th, live from St. Louis, Missouri. He was included in a Fatal 4-Way, but he lost the title to Tony D'Angelo. The OG of NXT, Tony D, is the new NXT champion. There's a lot of speculations as this could possibly be that Joe Hendry is going to get called up after WrestleMania. So that's the first thing that I want to mention in regards to Joe Hendry. He is no longer the NXT champion. Then we had the fallout from NXT Stand and Deliver, and which took place on Tuesday, April 7th. On that episode on NXT, Joe Hendry was included in an 8-man tag team match alongside Ethan Page, Ricky Saints, and the new NXT champion in Tony D'Angelo as they went up against all 4 members of Dark State. This match lasted 16 minutes and 1 second as Joe's team got the victory. Then we fast forward to this past Tuesday night on NXT, and this was a 2-night event called NXT Revenge, as this coincided with WrestleMania week, and of course, next week, the fallout from WrestleMania. So we're having this 2-week event on NXT called NXT's Revenge. Last night, Joe Hendry did a concert as he was addressing his future in NXT and what's next for him. He said something like how that he's not going to quit. He's going to proceed to go after the NXT Championship. However, as he was about to strum his guitar and sing a new song, we got the interference and the interruption from Kanavu Carver as he came to try to attack Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry used his guitar and smashed Carver over the head with it. But then Carver, it seems like he didn't budge, so Carver went after Joe Hendry, attacked him, busted him open as blood was flowing on Joe Hendry's head. Then at ringside, we saw Kanavu Carter deliver a spear as he crashed into the ringside barricade as the security guards were trying to break them apart. Could this be leading to a matchup of Joe Hendry versus Kanavu Carver? But overall, what is the future for Joe Hendry as he is no longer the NXT champion? We do have WrestleMania coming up this week. Most likely, he might be part of the call-ups. And speaking of potential call-ups, according to Bodyslam.net and a couple of other sources, there have been reports that a couple of wrestlers from NXT might be getting called up to the main roster. And here are the names. Of course, Joe Hendry, Sol Roca, who of course is having a feud, former tag team partner in Zarya. Sol Roca is on that list to potentially go to the main roster. We also have Ethan Page, who has been mentioned as possibly going to the main roster. And then JC Jane, who recently dropped the NXT Women's Championship to Lola Vice at NXT Stand and Deliver. So these names of the NXT hopefuls will most likely be moving up to the main roster, and Joe Hendry is included on that list. But regardless of where Joe Hendry leads, wherever he goes to Raw or SmackDown, always remember this, folks. If you remember to say his name, he might just randomly appear. Always remember to believe, say his name. Always remember the words that Joe Hendry says anytime, any place, at any show. And most importantly, always remember to do this.
Wave your hands from side to side and say, oh, I believe in Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry is so prestigious.
Once again, this is your guy, DJ Kuzmo. Have a blessed week. Be kind to one another. Stay safe, my friends. Believe and peace.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.